Are you or your sales team just fed up wasting hours on outdated marketing tactics that have failed to deliver measurable growth? It can be extremely frustrating. You see, you built your business over the past 30 years based on good, wholesome values. Yet every day you see your competitors stealing market share, building revenue, and consistently driving leads on digital platforms. Imagine this. You've been on site all day, spoke to customers, helped solve their problems on challenges that are facing them on projects. In fact, you've been on the road for the past 20 years doing exactly that, building up your reputation, building out your name to the extent where you have a long list of customers that regularly phone you up for your advice. Yet you come home and you scroll through LinkedIn and you see time and time again competitors networking with your prospects, commenting on your prospects' posts. In fact, only this morning you noticed competitors won another project, and you think, well, hang on, what have they done? Yes, they've tried LinkedIn, they've posted regularly. Has it really made a difference? Well, actually, as you can see with your eyes, it has. And you want to know how you can embrace those tactics. Well, in this video, I'm going to walk you through exactly how I helped a sales team generate over £100,000 in 12 months by embracing a tailored LinkedIn strategy in a price-sensitive market with thin margins where pricing often wins projects. These tactics helped reposition the brand to no longer compete purely on product variation and pricing, but to compete on their expertise, their authority, and their knowledge in the sector, to a point where elite contractors were reaching out to the team, ask for their advice, ask for meetings with them, and the LinkedIn system that was implemented helped them transition from a traditional method of marketing to a new one. Imagine your company with over 20 years legacy and expertise finally being recognized as the authority in your sector, a guide and a mentor. That's the ultimate goal. You build your company and you deserve, with the knowledge and hard work, to be known as that authority. The goal is to become the go-to expert, where your insights and experiences build serious revenue and enhance your brand's positioning in the marketplace. If you're ready to leave behind traditional marketing methods, embrace new digital strategies that deliver real results without draining your time and budget, this is your blueprint for success. In this video, we're going to go through the step-by-step LinkedIn strategy that I helped implement for a supplier and manufacturer serving a specialist sector in the construction industry. At the time, the company heavily reliant on referrals, events, phone calls, and emails. Sales reps spent a significant amount of time prospecting and following up. They had limited use of social media. The sales team structure was experienced but small, 4 to 6 members juggling multiple roles, from lead generation to closing. These were the key challenges that were put ahead of us. At the time, the LinkedIn for the company had a spray and pray mantra: only brand-centric content, resources were low, marketing were juggling an awful lot of jobs. Senior leadership expected more. They wanted to scale the company. They wanted to measure the impact of everything the marketing team were doing, including LinkedIn. Due to that, they wanted to grow at a steady rate. They had to evaluate what channels were working and what weren't. At the time, traditional channels, traditional referrals, email, event, and phone, these channels were not bringing enough warm, project-ready prospects, and marketing methods were not opening doors to elite contractors. Building a leading strategy that involved the sales team was first met with a rejection from 4 out of the 5 team members. Quite rightly, they were already up to the hilt with work they had to do. Putting something else on the plate was not what they wanted to hear, especially when they had never had any guidance about LinkedIn before. And others had the big challenge again. They're reliant on traditional slow sales processes. Word of mouth referrals again thus far, it wasn't able them to generate new levels of business to the elite contractors they wanted to attract. So here we go then. This is the exact framework that I implemented to help this particular company generate as over £100,000 of revenue on the back of LinkedIn. First things first, I created and presented a tailored LinkedIn strategy plan. What does this actually mean? Well, I collected research from the sales team and started creating an audit. We wanted to know where we were now, where we wanted to be, and how we got there. So I set about achieving that. Okay, so I outlined current business and marketing goals, their objectives, underlined the end goal, as I said, and started reviewing possible strategies. Those strategies had to have the end goal of essentially creating a brand new channel, which we hadn't had resource on before, and to generate an awareness to elite contractors, as well as generate leads the sales team could follow up on. So we had to understand what tactics would work and why. I had to also look into what KPIs mattered and when, lead and lag measurements and how to report on them and why they're important. I then presented that strategy to relevant stakeholders, the sales team, and a senior leadership to field questions. Quite right, as I said before, there were some questions and objections. Didn't want to show their personality, didn't want competitors to shoot them down or steal their project leads, unsure of what topics to post. Without prior guidance on commenting or networking or connecting, they needed help to understand exactly what they had to do. And then we had to know, well, could they do it? So my process in all this was to identify challenges and objections. I wanted to work and guide the sales team, so I set up LinkedIn workshops, one-on-one coaching sessions, if you like, and to understand what the issues were. So, for example, Lorna, her issue was she didn't know what to write up, when to post, how to network, and there were too many tasks on his plate. He didn't know how he can incorporate LinkedIn into what he was already doing. And James was uncertain about the best way to build a network of ideal customer profiles. So as I said, I took through the team one-on-one to help them understand best practices from the complete A to Z, from setting up a LinkedIn profile to fine-tuning that profile to make sure it had the correct impact, turning our views into inquiries. I then went through content creation, content ideation, what KPIs meant to measure, why it mattered, and also talked about topics that we could talk about, that we could write about. I will mention later on. Step 3, allocate the roles based on time. Many of the different sales team members juggled multiple roles within sales. So time was limited, so I had to make sure that they made use of it. So business development manager Lorna, she only commit 2 hours a week for LinkedIn engagement. We broke this down into sending connection requests, commenting on ideal customer prospect posts, and responding to comments. Mark, in operations, only had 1 hour to spend. So we decided to make sure he spent that hour drawing up all the frequently asked questions his sales team had answered before, to make sure we built up a good section of the objections in the industry and why they didn't want to work with us in the past, so we could use that to be answered in the future. Head of sales James only had 2.5 hours per week. We wanted to spend 20 minutes a day for him to collaborate with our partners on LinkedIn. That could be other suppliers of products that we sold. Step 4 then, creating a prospect list. Who we're going to target, how we're going to get hold of that information. So although we used quite a basic Excel sheet, obviously now you can use LinkedIn Sales Navigator, it's a lot more advanced. We wanted to understand, we wanted one area where we could share all the prospect information. Company names, job titles, names, comments, and direct messages from those prospects. We wanted to identify who the primary decision makers were, and also wanted to identify who the influential people that would influence the primary decision makers, aka our ideal customer profiles. Step 5 was to fine-tune everyone's profile for the sales team. We looked at identifying the key areas within the profile checklist and went through it one by one, going all the way from the profile picture, the banner, the profile headline, the about section and feature section. I won't bog you down too much, but the LinkedIn profile headline has to be clear and concise into who you help and how. The about section is focused on what problems you solve, who you're problem solving for, social proof examples of you doing that in the past, and a clear call to action. And the feature section should also highlight a previous case study of relevance, a scheduling tool to put meetings, as well as previous testimonials. Step 6, I then created an engagement methodology. And what it means in practice is frameworks and tactics to guide the sales team into how to network and comment on the ideal customer prospects profiles. So I set about and allocated the roles to each of them. So Mark would comment on his list of ideal customer prospect posts by bookmarking their profiles in Chrome. And when he was to comment offering advice and providing resources so that he could elicit a response from our ideal customer prospects. We also had the best ways not only to comment, but to direct message, to make sure the direct messaging wasn't always cold, it was warm. And it can only be warm by us interacting with the ideal customer prospects posts, providing comments on their posts to elicit a response from them, as well as understanding where the best opportunity was to then direct message them based on the fact that they've viewed our profile and they're replying to our comments. The 7th step was to create a content plan. First things first, I had to interview the customer service teams and sales teams to understand what the customer pain points were, industry objections and frustrations, and build content out around those themed. So I set up a content calendar and I identified the what, where, why of the content. And all the content was based on previous objections and frustrations we heard from our customer base, and also subject matter experts. So subject matter experts in one hand, all the objections we had from our prospects in the other hands, and that built up pillars. And those pillars would be top of funnel, middle of funnel, and bottom of funnel. And those content themes would be identified in those sections. So top of funnel obviously is awareness only content, middle of funnel is consideration type content, bottom funnel obviously is conversion type content. So I created the content plan and the content schedule, and we identified which members of the sales team would speak about what, how would they generate content, how would they have ideas to generate content, and also their hand in the bag, their confidence and ability to talk about the market observations and things they'd heard on site and so on and so forth. So the content plan was quite solid. As I said, I'll repeat myself, it's based on 2 methodologies. 1, to build trust in the mind of ideal customer prospects. 2, to help teach and educate, to help to teach and guide the rest of the sector. Again, to build up trust in what we had to offer. And also it was to make sure that we really understood the day-to-day frustrations impacting ideal customer prospects, as well as the overall marketplace. And that strategy helped us to not only ideate content each week, but make sure that our individual sales teams were known for their expertise in that particular subject matter. So number 8, we had weekly coaching and reporting. Each week I'd have half an hour with each of the members of the sales team. We would go over new leads, go over different content we could write about the following week, and then I would assign next week's LinkedIn tasks to the members of the sales team. Obviously I had to make sure they had enough time that week to come up with content ideas together and then to write the content post itself. I would support in that content ideation, I would support in the writing of the content, but most importantly, at the end of each week, the sales team could provide me with the statistics that I needed, so I could build out a report, so I can report to senior stakeholders about exactly what the digital strategy that I'd implemented was leading to. And that was leading to direct messages from elite contractors, and was leading to projects being signed off and won, all originated from initial conversations that they had on LinkedIn. And the step number 9, empowerment and sustainability. This is where the end goal is. We want to make sure we get to a stage where the sales team have everything they need to crack on with themselves. So after 12 weeks, the sales team had a LinkedIn playbook, which included content templates, daily engagement checklists, and KPIs tracking success. That was their guide that they needed, so that once I wasn't available, they can go ahead and create content themselves and measure how successful it was. So what are the results? Well, the results of what matters at the end of the day. Within our time working together, they had a self-sustainable LinkedIn strategy. We could attribute £100,000 worth of project won in the first 12 months. We had 5 business development managers and technical sales consultants posting 3 times a week original content, generating inbound leads from elite contractors where the doors were not open before. As I said, we opened the doors to elite contractors through the posts that were created. We were having direct messages between the builder and business development manager and the elite contractors. They were coming to us for advice, training, tips, and to arrange meetings, because we were being seen as the expertise and the trusted go-to guide for everything around construction. And although this isn't the sole reason why the company grew to dizzy heights, it is only one piece of the jigsaw puzzle. At the end of those years of working together, the company brand and individual sales members became known as market leading in their niche. They had the expertise, they had the knowledge, they had the whereabouts, and had the dedication. The strategy I implemented, which they drove on, is entirely down to how they took it on. And we worked as a good team, and now they deservedly are known as the market leading provider in their sector. And their name is known by elite contractors across the UK. And finally, but certainly not least, this strategy enabled them to reposition their brand from competing solely on price, product delivery and lead times, to becoming known for their knowledge and expertise on regulatory and legislative issues that were dominating the sector, that were dominating the minds of the elite contractors. And that's how that strategy helped position them as the leading go-to trusted company in their sector. This is how, through the 10-step framework that I delivered off the back of a LinkedIn strategy that I created, led to the company scale to the dizzy heights they are today, with over £100,000 worth of project